trans woman playing the Joker? Oh, whatever will society do? Get over it, in my opinion. I think she was great. The People's Joker, released in 2022 and is directed by Vera Drew, who is also directing the upcoming movie Carnage for Christmas. And this film is also starring Vera Drew in the title role of the Joker, Lynn Downey, Christian Calloway, Griffin Kramer, Nathan Foston, Phil Braun, David Liebhart, Scott Ackerman, Tim Heidecker, Maria Bamford, and Bob Odenkirk. And the reason why we're talking about the People's Joker today is because it was a PayPal recommendation and donation from a longtime contributor and supporter of this channel, Dr. Camp. Thank you very much again for the recommendation. I do remember checking this film out, it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, and thought that this was a very interesting take on the Batman property. How many iterations of Batman are we going to get that are at the core of itself the exact same thing? And yes, this film's version of the Joker and Batman and all these characters at the core of itself are basically the same thing, but it's a great new take and provides great representation for this community that you don't see at all, really, in the superhero world or the superhero community, at least in the film world. And it is a parody film. They don't have official rights to use the Batman name or all of the villain names in here. So a couple of the artist rendering sequences that we have, Batman is kind of drawn a little askew, or if we see a character in here, sometimes maybe they're not referenced completely by their character's name from the comics, which happens when you do a parody film, and Warner Brothers, they definitely have the right to say, hey, this is our property. If you're going to use it, you gotta pay us money, because Warner Brothers could definitely use some, right? But those legal hiccups shouldn't deter anyone from crafting and creating an original story like this, and I definitely appreciate it, and I actually enjoyed it more this second time around from my first viewing a couple of years ago. So thank you very much, Dr. Camp, for the recommendation. If anyone else out there also wants to be like Dr. Camp and help support me and contribute to this channel, you can select the QR code that is in the bottom left corner of your screen right now. Send over your donation of $5 or more with your movie recommendation, and if I have access to it, I will watch it, review it, and give you a little shout out, just like what I did with Dr. Camp here. In a futuristic dystopian world monitored by Batman, a young child grows up idolizing a bunch of sketch comedy programs and wants to become a world-famous comedian themselves. But this young boy also has to deal with the stress and not so great parenting skills of their mother, because even though this person was born sexually as a boy, deep down they know themselves to be a beautiful woman, so once they're able to move out of their parents' house, they begin their transition into being a woman, but also through all of the fun Gotham laughing gas and drugs that are in the community, they also become the new face of comedy in the city, Joker, the Harley Quinn. And I love that, how they take the character of Joker that has been done over and over again in films, and instead of making Harley Quinn its own separate character, they actually combine the two, and they make this Joker the Harley Quinn. I think that's just brilliant. And Joker does eventually fall in love with another version of the Joker, and they give a really cool backstory with that version of how originally their name was Carrie Kelly, who, if you don't know, in The Dark Knight Returns in the comics was a version of Robin, but then that person also went through a transition and started calling themselves Jason Todd. And I think any Batman fan knows who Jason Todd is when it comes to the lore of Batman. And again, I just think that's just a really cool iteration of Robin, of Jason Todd, and of Carrie Kelly, that they're actually the same person, they just transition. I just think it's so freaking cool. And truthfully, I think this film should be commended for its mission of providing representation for the trans community in the superhero world. Even though it's not officially produced by any large corporation, here you can see that a character can be labeled as trans and have a major impact on its world, in this film world that it's creating. And reading up on this film, I see that Vera Drew, initially developing the concept of this movie, was just trying to re-edit the film Joker, the one starring Joaquin Phoenix, not the sequel that everyone panned and hated, even though I appreciated it and I enjoyed it for what it was. The 2019 film with Joaquin Phoenix, they were trying to re-edit it, but then as they were doing their research with the character of the Joker, they were finding out there are a lot of similarities with the struggles and the depression and the community pressures that Joker was feeling in their background. It was also a parallel course with how Vera Drew was feeling in their life. And I love that. Art, theater, film should be a mirror to society, and you should find a connection with yourself with any of these mythological characters that we get from comics, especially when it comes to Batman, who's been around for so long. Comics, comic book characters, they are the modern day mythological creatures who, if we go back to the time of the Romans and the Greeks, you had these godlike figures that everyone was worshipping, and even back then they would find connections between themselves and these different gods, and they would pray and worship certain gods more than other gods. Same thing happens today, maybe not to the whole praying thing, but you do find a connection. If you are into the comic book world, you find connections between yourself, your emotions, your backstory to certain characters on the comic book page. And that's exactly what happened with Vera Drew when they were creating really the concept of this movie. That makes me happy as a comic book fan. And for the most part, I do enjoy this story, and I love the journey that this Joker character goes on. Though it is an independent film, so I know that they are restrained in their budget and the amount of money that they're able to put into sets and to costuming and to go out on location. A lot of this happens in front of a green screen. We have a whole bunch of green screen effects that happen in here, so obviously they're in a small little studio basically shooting this entire movie, which I get and I respect. However, I do wish there was more tangibility when it comes to this movie. When you have all of this green screen happening behind these characters, it just kind of feels... It reminded me a lot of the Star Wars prequels, where you have all of these blue screens all the way around, and you only have so far of a soundstage to walk on, so there's no sense of urgency, there's no kinetic energy with the story moving forward. And I was feeling that disjointedness here in this movie too. I felt like we had a lot of standing around, felt like we had a lot of just people talking in here. Talking about things, complaining about things, making references or jabs at people, and I'm like, I don't understand that one. But it did feel like there was something to be desired when it came to the kineticness and the sense of urgency with this film. And then we also have some animated sequences in here, and I think the artist rendering of these sequences is really cool, and I really like it. But these artistic scenes, animation scenes, happen when something sexual is happening, and personally I think that just devalued the subject matter in here. I want the trans community to feel like they have a place in the superhero genre, and if you are getting to a scene where it's getting hot and heavy and we are moving into a sexual component, I don't think you need to hide behind animation. I think if the actors are comfortable enough, we should have these sequences performed in a live action manner. Just my opinion. The People's Joker is a unique take on the Batman universe, a universe that I absolutely love, and it's new iterations and voices like this that I think is needed in the comic book world. Again, this is an independent feature, so their resources aren't grand and great, so there is something left to be desired when we get to certain sequences and certain pacing issues that we have. But I think overall, this is a unique concept, and I definitely appreciate it, and I definitely recommend everyone checking this out. I'm going to give The People's Joker 3 out of 5 Blu-rays.
Not exactly what I had in mind, but not bad.
So guys, if you've seen The People's Joker, what did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below and let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.